Healing your abandonment issues will help you create and maintain healthier and more fulfilling long-term relationships. Hi, I am Linda and welcome to my channel. I am an intuitive healer and a life coach. And the focus of today's video is to share with you 5 ways you can use to start healing your abandonment trauma, because these wounds can cause a lot of turmoil and prevent you from having healthy, fulfilling relationships. Now, know that for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use the terms trauma, wound, and issues interchangeably. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first way, and really the first step in any healing process, is awareness. Obviously, you need to recognize you have an abandonment wound, right? But awareness goes a little bit beyond that. Yes, it definitely implies that you are aware that you have an issue, but also that you are wanting and willing to do the necessary work to heal it. So it includes you learning more about how that particular wound affects you in your day-to-day, and just as important, how it affects the relationships you have with others. Way number 2, or step number 2, is getting to the root cause. Now, this sounds very simple, but it can be a difficult process. There are a lot of ways you can do that, and there are many modalities that you can use and that you can try. In my practice, and really in my personal life and my own healing journey, I focus on doing shadow work, which is really an umbrella term which includes several modalities. Now, if you want to learn more about shadow work, you can visit on this channel, can watch my video called What is Shadow Work? I will link it in the description. But in essence, shadow work is about revealing what is in the subconscious. That is, bringing the subconscious to your conscious mind, from the shadow into the light. So you want to understand not only what emotional wounds you have been carrying, but more importantly, what did you make them mean about you? For example, say that you have a partner, and your romantic partner, and they are working on a very important project at work, and they're not able to call you for a couple of days. So that may actually trigger your fear of abandonment. Now, you may start thinking that on and on about the last interaction you had, and questioning if you did something wrong, or get suspicious, and maybe even panic and go as far as to start calling them every few minutes, right? Now, if that sounds familiar to any of you at all, feel free to call yourselves out in the comments, because a lot of us have done this, at least at one point or another in our lives. Now, in this particular case, right, if that's something that's happening to you, you are spiraling because you feel unloved and that you don't matter to your partner, and that they may be going to leave you. So an important question to ask here is why? Why do we feel that way? And often it's because a situation or a person in our childhood made us feel the same way. Whether this was an absent parent, a neglectful parent, or worse. And you made that mean something about you, that you were unlovable, or maybe that you were unworthy, and therefore no one was going to love you enough to stick around. Now, obviously this scenario is, an example, so it's not going to be the same for everybody, but it is a common enough scenario that is helpful to illustrate the point that I'm trying to make. Now, once you're able to trace this back to your childhood wound, it becomes a lot easier to understand your emotional reactions, so that you can then be more mindful about your triggers and navigate them and communicate them in a more emotionally intelligent way. Now, the third way or step to heal abandonment wounds is inner child work. Now, this is one of the modalities that falls under the umbrella of shadow work, and in my personal experience, is one of the best to start healing because abandonment issues are generally rooted in childhood trauma, like we discussed a moment ago. And connecting the dots with that early life wounding will really help you understand what is the deep-seated need that you are still trying to fulfill. The reason why the feeling of abandonment can be so devastating is because you're not only hurting from the current wound, but you are also subconsciously feeling the pain of every previous abandonment, real or perceived, all the way back to the original wound. That's because that trauma was never healed and it continues to compound every time you have an experience that triggers that feeling of abandonment. Once you start doing the work and start healing the wound and finding ways to fulfill whatever need was denied, navigating those painful relational experiences becomes a lot easier. You're going to be able to manage emotional pain more consciously and within the context of the current experience instead of carrying the baggage of every previous experience. Now, a word to the wise here. I have found that this is one of the fastest ways to heal, meaning doing inner child work, but it can also be one of the most difficult. And for those who are not yet comfortable with doing the deeper inner work or tend to lean more towards the analytical, there are a lot of more gentle ways that you can use to get to the root cause of your wounds. What I would recommend though is that you ensure that you are working with a skilled healer, coach, or therapist to help you through that process. Now, the fourth way of healing your abandonment wound is learning what your attachment style is. Now, attachment theory is something that I personally found incredibly helpful in my own journey. And if you want a quick overview, I have a short, I think it's like a three-minute video on my channel that I will link in the description that explains what it is and what the different styles are. But basically, it is a model that explains how you connect with others in relationship. Now, the reason why I think it's helpful is because it explains how, not just how you connect with others, but also, and more specifically, the dysfunctional patterns that you engage in when you feel hurt, especially when we're talking about longer term relationships, romantic or otherwise. We develop our attachment styles as a coping strategy based on our childhood experiences. So because of that, when you combine this with inner child work, that combination can be incredibly powerful and quite frankly, life-changing, especially when it comes to healing your abandonment wounds. It is also a great source of information that you can provide to your loved ones so that you are both better equipped to consciously navigate your relational triggers. And just for the record, you can also do that for the other person. And what you can do for me right now is to subscribe and click the like button. It really helps the channel. But back to our regularly scheduled programming. Now, the last way, or the fifth way or step, healing your abandonment wounds is finding and or creating corrective experiences. Now, these are experiences that will provide a positive feeling of security by fulfilling one or more of your specific emotional needs, and your specific ones is important, not generic or general emotional needs, but yours specifically. Now, with the knowledge that you're going to get from the previous two steps, you can be more deliberate and intentional about finding these experiences because you will have the awareness of your needs and the language to communicate with. So it'll make it a lot easier for you to be able to know and verbalize the experiences you want to bring into your life. Now, it is also very important to note here that spiritually, all this work actually raises your vibration, which can then help you attract people and experiences that are healing and supportive of your journey because they are a match to your new frequency. And to that end, I created a meditation to help you with this process, and it will be published on this channel next week. So subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when it's posted. So I hope this was helpful to you, and please feel free to ask any questions you want me to answer in the comments. I'll take a look at those and answer as much as I can. And also, please let me know if there are any specific topics you'd like me to cover on this channel. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, namaste.